So I want to talk about the idea of pain transmutation and how it roughly makes me about $20,000 in profit as a kid in his 20s. And this is something that I really never really talked about on this channel just because this channel has been specifically for business. But I really wanted to share this because I think it's going to help you a lot, since I truly think that business is 80% mindset, truly. And if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Kevin Martins. I do something called organic dropshipping. And in the last year and a half, I've been able to make over $300,000 as a kid in his 20s. I copped my dream apartment here in Miami, Florida, started a real brand that goes beyond the typical pump and dump model of dropshipping, where I'm getting hundreds of orders weekly and also hitting my best day in ecom ever. I made over $8,000 in a singular day. And by far the craziest feeling I've ever felt. But this video isn't going to be about me. It's really going to be about transmutation and how this crazy word, I know you might be like, what the heck does this word mean? But how it's really kind of helped me to progress the way I've been able to progress in literally a year and a half. So first we need to understand that we all have needs by default as human beings. So we don't necessarily choose these needs. It's kind of like wired into our brain when we're born and really through our past experience as we grow up. So every urge, craving, or emotion is your brain trying to meet one of these needs with the least energy possible. So you might be thinking, Kevin, what do you mean by needs? So we all have, physiological needs like food, water, warmth, and rest, right? This is probably like the basic needs that us humans have. Apart from, security and safety, making sure that we have shelter, that we're able to sleep at night and reproduce, right? The whole ideology behind human beings is to reproduce as by nature, right? And then we really tap into the psychological needs and the self-fulfillment needs, right? So this is kind of like the pyramid scheme of needs, right? So I'm going to hammer down some needs that I personally kind of deal with and, others around me have dealt with, and some easy outlets that we see day to day. And so some of the needs that we tend to have, especially as men, I would say 99% of the viewers that watch this are men, have some sort of status and significance type of needs, right? And an easy outlet for this is flexing on Instagram and chasing likes. Another thing could be connection and intimacy with a female or a male, whatever you're into. And this is when we get into the realms and of OnlyFans and corn. Okay, if you know, you know, which is why these platforms are rampant nowadays. Another thing too is progress and growth, right? Leveling up on video games. So maybe you can't necessarily live your dream life, so you play GTA 5 all day and feel like you're actually leveling up as a human being through your GTA 5 character. Okay. And lastly, attention and recognition. We all have this need by default. I would say a lot of us do. And, this could be something as, simple as posting meaningless content on your Instagram to please others, and also just gossiping, right? Talking about other people to please others and really just be relevant, right? And so we've all had these different needs in some time in our life. And, it's totally normal, but these are some easy outlets that nowadays we kind of face because this doesn't take any effort. It's really easy to go ahead and flex on Instagram and, chase likes, also hop on Cornhub and watch videos of, girls getting stuff done to them, right? Because you wish you would have been that guy. Also, it's really easy to hop on a video game and also, talk about gossip when you really don't need to, right? So these are very easy outlets. And so with that being said, I want to, also just talk about pain transmutation and kind of break it down at a very basic level for anyone to understand, because this was really hard for me to understand until I kind of figured it out. And so let's break down pain first, right? We're going to talk about pain. So pain is essentially energy and it's your reason to do something, your why. Like, why do you do what you do? Why do you wake up every single day and go to work, right? Transmutation is really just a simple, not a simple term, a complex term for transferring energy, right? And so it's pretty much how you rechannel your energy or transfer this pain, right? And so there's different types of pain, right? There's physical pain, so effort or strain on your body. Let's say your back hurts. We have emotional pain. You're going through a breakup, rejection, and loneliness. We have social pain, right? With status, right? Feeling that we're enough for society and that we're actually cool, right? It's really important to be cool nowadays. We all want to be cool. And lastly, existential pain. And this is really just the feeling of being lost, right? What is your purpose in life? What do you do when, you're feeling lost and you're really trying to figure out what you're supposed to do on this earth, right? This is what I really mean by existential pain. And so lastly, I want to just introduce this thing called coping, right? And a lot of you probably know about this, but coping just by definition, is the set of thoughts, behaviors, and strategies a person uses to manage stress, difficult emotions, or challenging situations. So, really, what coping is numbing the pain. And so, going back to the example of video games and not necessarily living the life you want to live, you hop on GTA 5 to level up your character, buy all the cool cars you wish you had, all the cool apartments, because you don't really have that in the real world, right? And so, you're numbing the pain by playing video games. Same thing goes with alcohol, right? Alcohol is a great way to numb your pain and also just take you out of your day to day life and really just ignore the reality, right? And so that's why corn is super rampant. Some guys don't get the affection they need or the love by a female. And so they hop on these sites to get easy dopamine and also feel, that attention. And so why do you think like streamers are so rampant nowadays, right? You see a lot of people like Kai Cenat, even, I Show Speed, whatever. I don't know too many streamers, but streamers are rampant nowadays. And a lot of people watch them because they just need a friend, right? They want to be able to, chat with somebody on a daily basis and kind of just almost feel like they have a friend when realistically they kind of don't, right? Because this guy doesn't even know who you are. Same thing goes with OnlyFans models and stuff like that. You're never actually talking to that person, but it really just taps into your vulnerabilities. Oh my God. And then lastly, brain rotting as well. It's a great way to escape reality and also just numb your mind completely to where you're not really thinking, you're just scrolling every single 2 seconds, right? And so these are all coping mechanisms. Hopefully you guys are understanding this. And so now we're going to talk about Kevin, right? It's going to get pretty vulnerable here, but I want to talk about my self-image because we all have a self-image of ourselves, right? When we think of Jack, I'm assuming someone's named Jack watching this video. But everyone has their self-image. There's a reason why you think the way you think because there's a certain image of yourself that you think about every single day. And so if we're talking about Kevin as a human being, as myself, I have certain needs, right? Certain needs that I've been implanted with and pretty much born with since the day I was born. And so a big need of mine is I love attention, right? I love attention. I love validation. I like status, progression, and most importantly, freedom. Right. These are the things that I essentially need as a human being, because it's something that's always kind of stuck by me as a kid of all these different needs. Right. And so you should ask yourself, what are your needs? Right. Do you like attention, validation, status, progression, freedom, or maybe you like other things? Right. But these are just my basic needs as a human being. And so with that being said, during my journey, before I was even, exposed to organic dropshipping, I was a personal trainer for 2.5 years, right? I had over like 35, 40 clients at one point. I was one of the top trainers at the gym, and I've helped a lot of people lose a lot of weight. And I was very happy at this job in the beginning. I loved the idea of, helping other people out and truly making an impact on someone's life. And I would get a lot of validation through this process, which is why I really enjoyed work. I was getting a lot of attention. I was getting a lot of validation, status by being the top trainer. I was feeling a lot of progression through, the knowledge of being a personal trainer and, also just the progression of my clients. You know what I'm saying? And also, I really wasn't getting this freedom part, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but I was getting a lot of these needs through my 9 to 5 and I loved it, right? But obviously, as time went on, I started to notice that I wasn't really getting the freedom I wanted. And so this is literally me in the bathroom of my gym where I would literally go for hours sometimes scrolling on my phone, trying to escape my reality, right? Because I noticed that I was missing this key part and key component of my basic needs and wants, which was freedom, right? And so this is literally me in the bathroom. I would hide here almost daily and, just post on my Snapchat how I hated my work. So eventually I did fall out of love with my job and I was looking for this big, important word that we all love and it's freedom, right? And so with that being said, I started coping a lot, right? I wasn't really happy with my situation. I wasn't making a lot of money. I was probably raking in about $25,000 to $30,000 a year. And I was working like a little bit over part-time and that is not good money, right? And so I started coping, right? I started going out a lot. I was getting with a lot of girls and really just not being the best human ever. But I was also getting a lot of attention, validation, and status. So my basic needs were being met through this coping mechanism of drinking, partying, meaningless hookups, and overall just destruction, right? And so you could see why I would enjoy doing this. I probably spent 3 to 4 years of my life doing this every single week, nonstop, right? And it was getting really, really bad. But I was still having my needs met, which is why I was able to enjoy it so much, right? But eventually, with this coping season, I hit a breaking point, right? I hit the lowest point of my life. I had some health issues going on, and this is me at the hospital with a scrub on, right? At the most vulnerable point of my life, where I was like, holy shit, this is real, right? And so this was my breaking point. And then after my breaking point, I hit ground zero, right? This was me when I was doing Uber Eats. This is my Uber profile. You guys can see that I don't look the happiest. I was completely broken out. My skin was going crazy. And I was genuinely depressed, poor, lonely, and lost. So this was ground zero. And this was literally a year and a half ago, right? And so I was deprived. I was very deprived on a lot of things, a lot of my needs, which is why I decided to essentially take action, right? So this was definitely ground zero for me by far. I went through some of the darkest stages of my life, stuff that I don't even want to talk about on camera, but it was very dark. It was very dark. I mean, there were some lows, there were some highs, but eventually you break, right? This was the breaking point, and this was absolute ground zero, right? I had flown across the country to start fresh. I was fucking poorer than a joke doing Uber Eats and literally just trying to figure out what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And so I was really facing a lot of these different pains, right? Not only was I facing mental pain, I was facing existential pain because I had no idea what I was going to do. I was facing status pain because I was literally an Uber driver. I had no status. I felt like a crook. And then I was also facing social pain because I was genuinely lonely, bro. I moved literally across the country. And so I was feeling all these different pains, but most importantly, the physical pain as well, through some of the health issues. So really, I was facing a lot of pain during this time. And so what I'm trying to get at here is that I had a lot of energy built up, a lot of will to change. And so with this pain, I essentially started to really think about Kevin, right? Who I was as a person and my needs, right? And so going back to my needs of attention, validation, status, progress, and freedom, I started to really channel all of these different needs to my work, right? As an escape, because this was the only thing that would kind of numb the pain for me was work. I was coping with work. And so a lot of you ask me, it's like, how do you work so much? How do you enjoy actually doing what you do? And it's really because of this, man. Work has been able to essentially kind of be my coping mechanism for all of my basic and essential needs. And so what I mean by this is that I get a lot of attention right now, right, that I've always wanted through my YouTube, right? I don't necessarily get them from females anymore or, just drinking and being the cool guy that got invited to all the parties. A lot of my attention that I get nowadays and that I enjoy, I get from this YouTube channel. And this is work to me. This is why I'm able to pump out so much content for you guys and actually give you so much value because I genuinely enjoy doing this. And I get a lot of validation and attention through it, right? Piggybacking off the validation, you guys love my videos. You guys comment, crazy sauce. This was sauce, insane amount of sauce. And so now I'm no longer getting validated from these random females or, random people that have no purpose in my life but to just destroy. No hate to other people if you guys are watching this, but a lot of you guys just wanted to drink with me and smoke and do all this. And, I would get a lot of validation through that. But now I simply get validation through my YouTube videos and all the feedback that I get from you guys, from your first sale to making thousands of dollars from just my free content, Also, now I get my status from my stores, right? I was able to transfer all that pain and feeling of like I'm not enough to now I'm simply getting status from my stores and growing my brands. And so this is really how I get status nowadays, right? And progression, right? Progress. I started my own brand. I literally built this baby from zero, and now I'm getting hundreds and even thousands of orders on a monthly basis, right? And so now I'm getting this need fulfilled through my business, right? And then freedom, being able to buy whatever I basically want whenever, right? Being able to move to Miami out of nowhere, being able to, cop a MacBook Pro whenever I wanted, right? And this is really what freedom is to me, because I don't think freedom is going to be the SVJs and the jets and stuff like that, but it's more like a feeling, the feeling that you get when you can just go to the MacBook store and get that MacBook you always wanted, or even just simply take an Uber from your apartment to a restaurant and not have to worry about how much it cost you, right? Or something as simple as waking up in the morning and having a 2-hour routine because you can. You don't have to go clock into work. And this is all stuff that I consider freedom, because as a person now, I don't have to go clock in or, do all the stuff that I used to, have to do as a personal trainer before. And I could truly live the life that I want to live. And so simply what this is that you're transmutating, you're transferring all this pain to something that's going to be a little bit more productive. And for me, it was work, right? And so I recommend all of you that watch this video that if you ever have any sort of pain when it comes to, mental, existential status, social, or even physical, you literally just transmutate, you transfer that energy to your work, right? And obviously, I'm not saying I'm a complete robot that I work 15 hours a day, because I don't. I still have a life. But this is something that's been always top of mind for me, that I was like, damn, why have I been able to make all this progress so quick? And it's simply because I was able to, transfer the pain, my why, to my work, right? And obviously, at my lowest point here, where I was doing Uber Eats, I was not the happiest person on earth. And I knew that I was willing to do anything by nature to just change my life. And so that's why I feel like a lot of us have to kind of hit rock bottom sometimes, especially in this whole e-commerce journey, to really kind of level the playing field and kind of look at your life and be like, okay, I'm not happy, right? And sometimes it takes someone to hit ground zero, because if I never hit ground zero, I would have never been able to kind of look at the landscape and be like, okay, my life is nowhere near where I want it to be, but I would have never noticed if I never hit ground zero. I would have literally probably just kept partying my ass off until I maybe died. I don't know, who knows? So I'm always forever grateful for, hitting this breaking point right here and hitting ground zero, and really just realizing and also just questioning yourself, really just asking yourself, like, what do you want from life? And really just being alone for once and asking yourself these deep questions, right? Because like I said, when I was at ground zero, I was literally just in my apartment 24/7 for 3 months straight in my room. And, a lot of reflection happened during this period, which is 100% crucial, for progression and overall self-development, But yeah, man, I really just wanted to hammer down this kind of concept to you guys. It's helped me a lot, which is why I'm able to, work so efficiently and make really good progress when it comes to my e-com stores and even just organic dropshipping, right? But just know that this is something that's real and that's helped me tremendously. And like I said, man, I think pain is part of life, and pain is good, right? I think pain has molded me to the man that I am today. But it's really easy nowadays to numb your pain with just video games, alcohol, corn, brain rotting, and all these different low energy, kind of low, easy task things that you can go ahead and numb your pain with. And so when you can really just face reality and look at it in the eyes and really just feel that pain, I think you can just make tremendous progress. It's almost like a good example I heard was, imagine somebody just taking a Tylenol every time he gets a headache, over and over and over again, just to not feel the pain. But it turns out that person actually had a brain tumor. And so the reason he never figured that out was because he was always numbing the pain. And so sometimes you have to feel the pain to know what's kind of going on, you know what I'm saying, in your life. And really just face it. Just face it like a man, you know what I'm saying? And be vulnerable and feel like shit. Even if you have to cry, bro, do what you got to do, but just face the pain. Face the reality of your life. So yeah, I really wanted to get this point across. I don't know, I had some reason to, I hope somebody, looks at this video and is like, damn, this really helped, because it's truly helped me. And, this is definitely one of those, my first video when it comes to mindset and, energy and stuff like that. And so let me know if you guys want to see more of this, but yeah, this is going to be the video. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like, subscribe, and, see ya.